Peter Michael Falk was an American actor, best known for his role as Lieutenant Columbo in the television series Columbo. He appeared in numerous films such as The Princess Bride, The Great Race and Next, and television guest roles. He was nominated for an Academy Award twice, and won the Emmy Award on 5 occasions and a Golden Globe Award once. Director William Friedkin said of Falk's role in his film The Brink's Job, "Peter has a great range from comedy to drama. He could break your heart or he could make you laugh." In 1968, Falk starred with Gene Barry in a 90-minute television pilot about a highly skilled, laid-back detective. Columbo eventually became part of an anthology series titled the NBC Mystery Movie, along with McCloud, McMillan Wife and Banacek. The detective series stayed on NBC from 1971 to 1978, took a respite, and returned occasionally on ABC from 1989 to 2003. Falk was everyone's favorite rumpled television detective, wrote historian David Fantle. In 1996, TV Guide ranked Falk number 21 on its 50 greatest TV stars of all time list. Early life: born in New York City, Falk was the son of Michael Peter Falk, owner of a clothing and dry goods store, and his wife, Madeline, an accountant and buyer. Both of his parents were Jewish, coming from Poland and Russia on his father's side, and from Hungary and Czech lands on his mother's side. Falk's right eye was surgically removed when he was 3 because of a retinoblastoma. He wore an artificial eye for most of his life. The artificial eye was the cause of his trademark squint. Despite Falk's limitation as a boy, he participated in team sports, mainly baseball and basketball. In a 1997 interview in Cigar Aficionado magazine with Arthur Marks, Falk said, "I remember once in high school the umpire called me out at third base when I was sure I was safe. I got so mad I took out my glass eye, handed it to him and said, 'Try this.' I got such a laugh you wouldn't believe." Falk's first stage appearance was at the age of 12 in The Pirates of Penzance at Camp High Point in upstate New York, where one of his camp counselors was Ross Martin. Falk attended Ossining High School in Westchester County, New York, where he was a star athlete and president of his senior class. After graduating from high school in 1945, Falk briefly attended Hamilton College in Clinton, New York, and then tried to join the armed services as World War II was drawing to a close. Rejected because of his missing eye, he joined the United States Merchant Marine, and served as a cook and mess boy. Falk said of the experience in 1997, "There they don't care if you're blind or not. The only one on a ship who has to see is the captain." And in the case of the Titanic, he couldn't see very well either. Falk recalls this period in his autobiography, "A year on the water was enough for me, so I returned to college. I didn't stay long. Too itchy. What to do next? I signed up to go to Israel to fight in the war with Egypt. I wasn't passionate about Israel, I wasn't passionate about Egypt, I just wanted more excitement. I got assigned a ship and departure date, but the war was over before the ship ever sailed." After a year and a half in the Merchant Marine, Falk returned to Hamilton College and also attended the University of Wisconsin. He transferred to the New School for Social Research in New York City, which awarded him a bachelor's degree in literature and political science in 1951. He then traveled in Europe and worked on a railroad in Yugoslavia for 6 months. He returned to New York, enrolling at Syracuse University, but he recalled in his 2006 memoir, "Just One More Thing," that he was unsure what he wanted to do with his life for years after leaving high school. Falk obtained a Master of Public Administration degree at the Maxwell School of Syracuse University in 1953. The program was designed to train civil servants for the federal government, a career that Falk said in his memoir he had no interest in and no aptitude for. He applied for a job with the CIA, but was rejected because of his membership in the Marine Cooks and Stewards Union while serving in the Merchant Marine, even though he was required to join and was not active in the union. He then became a management analyst with the Connecticut State Budget Bureau in Hartford. In 1997, Falk characterized his Hartford job as efficiency expert. "I was such an efficiency expert that the first morning on the job, I couldn't find the building where I was to report for work. Naturally, I was late, which I always was in those days, but ironically it was my tendency never to be on time that got me started as a professional actor. Stage career. While working in Hartford, Falk joined a community theatre group called the Mark Twain Maskers, where he performed in plays that included The Caine Mutiny Court Martial, The Crucible, and The Country Girl by Clifford Odets. Falk also studied with Eva Le Gallienne, who was giving an acting class at the White Barn Theatre in Westport, Connecticut. Falk later recalled how he lied his way into the class, which was for professional actors. He drove down to Westport from Hartford every Wednesday, when the classes were held, and was usually late. In his 1997 interview with Arthur Marks in Cigar Aficionado magazine, Falk said of Le Gallienne, "One evening when I arrived late, she looked at me and asked, 'Young man, why are you always late?' And I said, 'I have to drive down from Hartford.' She looked down her nose and said, 'What do you do in Hartford? There's no theatre there. How do you make a living acting?'" Falk confessed he wasn't a professional actor. According to him, Le Gallienne looked at him sternly and said, "Well, you should be." He drove back to Hartford and quit his job. Falk stayed with the Le Gallienne group for a few months more, and obtained a letter of recommendation from Le Gallienne to an agent at the William Morris Agency in New York. In 1956, he left his job with the Budget Bureau and moved to Greenwich Village to pursue an acting career. Falk's first New York stage role was in an off-Broadway production of Molière's Don Juan at the 4th Street Theatre that closed after its only performance on January 3, 1956. Falk played the second lead, Sganarelle. His next theatre role proved far better for his career. In May, he appeared at Circle in the Square in a revival of The Iceman Cometh with Jason Robards playing the bartender. Later in 1956, Falk made his Broadway debut, appearing in Alexander Ostrovsky's Diary of a Scoundrel. As the year came to an end, he appeared again on Broadway as an English soldier in Shaw's St. Joan with Sebo N. McKenna. In 1972, Falk appeared in Broadway's The Prisoner of Second Avenue. According to film historian Ephraim Katz, his characters derive added authenticity from his squinty gaze, the result of the loss of an eye. Early films. Despite his stage success, a theatrical agent advised Falk not to expect much film acting work because of his artificial eye. He failed a screen test at Columbia Pictures and was told by studio boss Harry Cohn, "For the same price I can get an actor with two eyes." He also failed to get a role in the film Marjorie Morningstar, despite a promising interview for the second lead. His first film performances were in small roles in Wind Across the Everglades, The Bloody Brood and Pretty Boy Floyd. Falk's performance in Murder, Incorporated was a turning point in his career. He was cast in the supporting role of Killer Abriels in a film based on the real-life murder gang of that name that terrorized New York in the 1930s. The New York Times film critic Bosley Crowther, while dismissing the movie as an average gangster film, singled out Falk's amusingly vicious performance. Crowther wrote, "Mr. Falk, moving as if weary, looking at people out of the corners of his eyes and talking as if he had borrowed Marlon Brando's chewing gum, seems a travesty of a killer, until the water suddenly freezes in his eyes and he whips an ice pick from his pocket and starts punching holes in someone's ribs. Then viciousness pours out of him and you get a sense of a felon who is hopelessly cracked and corrupt." The film turned out to be Falk's breakout role. In his autobiography, Just One More Thing, Falk said his selection for the film from thousands of other off-Broadway actors was a miracle that made my career, and that without it, he would not have gotten the other significant movie roles that he later played. Falk, who played Reels again in the 1960 TV series The Witness, was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor Academy Award for his performance in the film. In 1961, multiple Academy Award-winning director Frank Capra cast Falk in the comedy Pocketful of Miracles. The film was Capra's last feature, and although it was not the commercial success he hoped it would be, he gushed about Falk's performance. Falk was nominated for an Oscar for the role. In his autobiography, Capra wrote about Falk, "The entire production was agonia. Except for Peter Falk. He was my joy, my anchor to reality. introducing that remarkable talent to the techniques of comedy made me forget pains, tired blood, and maniacal hankerings to murder Glenn Ford. Thank you, Peter Falk. For his part, Falk says he never worked with a director who showed greater enjoyment of actors and the acting craft. There is nothing more important to an actor than to know that the one person who represents the audience to you, the director, is responding well to what you are trying to do. Falk recalled one time how Capra reshot a scene even though he yelled cut and print, indicating the scene was finalized. When Falk asked him why he wanted it reshot, he laughed and said that he loved the scene so much he just wanted to see us do it again. How's that for support? For the remainder of the 1960s, Falk had mainly small movie roles and TV guest starring appearances. Falk turned in a gem of a performance as one of two cabbies who falls victim to greed in the epic 1963 star-studded comedy It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, although he only appears in the last fifth of the movie. His other roles included a comical crook in the Rat Pack film Robin and the Seven Hoods and the spoof The Great Race with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. Early television roles. Falk first appeared on television in 1957, in the dramatic anthology programs that later became known as the Golden Age of television. In 1957, he appeared in one episode of Robert Montgomery Presents. He was also cast in Studio One, Kraft Television Theatre, New York Confidential, Naked City, Havguna Will Travel, The Islanders, and Decoy with Beverly Garland cast as the first female police officer in a series lead. On The Twilight Zone he portrayed a Castro-type revolutionary complete with beard who, intoxicated with power, kept seeing his assassins in a newly acquired mirror. In 1961, Falk was nominated for an Emmy Award for his performance in the episode Cold Turkey of James Whitmore's short-lived series The Law on Mr. Jones on ABC. On September 29, 1961, Falk and Walter Matthau guest-starred in the premiere episode, The $1 Million Dump, of ABC's crime drama Target, The Corruptors, with Stephen McNally and Robert Harland. He won an Emmy for The Price of Tomatoes, a drama carried in 1962 on The Dick Powell Show. In 1963, Falk and Tommy Sands appeared as brothers who disagreed on the route for a railroad in the Gus Morgan story on ABC's Wagon Train. Falk played the title role of Gus, and Sands was his younger brother, Ethan Morgan. Ethan accidentally shoots wagon master Chris Hale, played by John McIntyre, while the brothers are in the mountains looking at possible route options. Gus makes the decision to leave Hale behind, even choking him, believing he is dead. Ethan has been overcome with oxygen deprivation and needs Gus' assistance to reach safety down the mountain. Unknown to the Morgans, Hale crawls down the mountain through snow, determined to obtain revenge against Gus. In time, though, Hale comes to understand the difficult choice Morgan had to make, and the brothers reconcile their own differences. This episode is remembered for its examination of how far a man will persist amid adversity to preserve his own life and that of his brother. Falk's first television series was in the title role of the drama The Trials of O'Brien, in which he played a lawyer. The show ran in 1965 and 1966 and was cancelled after 22 episodes. In 1971, Pierre Cossette produced the first Grammy Awards show on television with some help from Falk. Cossette writes in his autobiography, "What meant the most to me, though, is the fact that Peter Falk saved my ass. I love show business, and I love Peter Falk." Columbo. Although Falk appeared in numerous other television roles in the 1960s and 1970s, he is best known as the star of the TV series Columbo, everyone's favorite rumpled television detective, writes historian David Fantle. His character was a shabby and ostensibly absent-minded police detective lieutenant, who had first appeared in the 1968 film Prescription, Murder. Falk would describe his role to Fantle. "Columbo has a genuine mistiness about him. It seems to hang in the air. And he's capable of being distracted. Columbo is an ass-backwards Sherlock Holmes. Holmes had a long neck, Columbo has no neck. Holmes smoked a pipe, Columbo chews up 6 cigars a day." Television critic Ben Falk added Falk created an iconic Copa. who always got his man after a tortuous cat-and-mouse investigation. He also noted the idea for the character was, apparently inspired by Dostoevsky's dogged police inspector, Porfiry Petrovich, in the novel Crime and Punishment. Falk tries to analyze the character and notes the correlation between his own personality and Columbo's. "I'm a Virgo Jew, and that means I have an obsessive thoroughness. It's not enough to get most of the details, it's necessary to get them all. I've been accused of perfectionism." When Lou Wasserman said that Falk is a perfectionist, I don't know whether it was out of affection or because he felt I was a monumental pain in the arse. With general amazement, Falk notes, "The show is all over the world. I've been to little villages in Africa with maybe one TV set, and little kids will run up to me shouting, 'Columbo, Columbo.'" Singer Johnny Cash recalled acting in one episode, and although he was not an experienced actor, he writes in his autobiography, "Peter Falk was good to me. I wasn't at all confident about handling a dramatic role, and every day he helped me in all kinds of little ways." The first episode of Columbo as a series was directed in 1971 by a 25-year-old Steven Spielberg in one of his earliest directing jobs. Falk recalled the episode to Spielberg biographer Joseph McBride. "Let's face it, we had some good fortune at the beginning. Our debut episode, in 1971, was directed by this young kid named Steven Spielberg. I told the producers, Link and Levinson, this guy is too good for Columbo A. Steven was shooting me with a long lens from across the street. That wasn't common 20 years ago. The comfort level it gave me as an actor, besides its great look artistically well, it told you that this wasn't any ordinary director." The character of Columbo had previously been played by Bert Fried in a single television episode and by Thomas Mitchell on Broadway. Falk first played Columbo in Prescription, Murder, a 1968 TV movie, and from 1971 to 1978. Columbo aired regularly on NBC as part of the umbrella series NBC Mystery Movie. All episodes were of TV movie length, in a 90 or 120-minute slot including commercials. The show returned on ABC in the form of a less frequent series of TV movies, still starring Falk, from 1989 until 2003. Falk won 4 Emmys for his role in Columbo. Columbo was so popular co-creator William Link wrote a series of short stories published as the Columbo Collection, which includes a drawing by Falk of himself as Columbo, and the cover features a caricature of Falk Columbo by Al Hirschfeld. Later career. Falk was a close friend of independent film director John Cassavetes and appeared in his films Husbands, A Woman Under the Influence, and, in a cameo, at the end of opening night. He also co-starred with Cassavetes in Mikey and Nicky. Cassavetes, in turn, guest-starred in the Columbo episode A Multitude in Black in 1972. Falk describes his experiences working with Cassavetes, specifically remembering his directing strategies, shooting an actor when he might be unaware the camera was running. You never knew when the camera might be going. And it was never, stop. Cut. Start again. John would walk in the middle of a scene and talk, and though you didn't realize it, the camera kept going. So I never knew what the hell he was doing. Laughs, but he ultimately made me, and I think every actor, less self-conscious, less aware of the camera than anybody I've ever worked with. In 1978, Falk appeared on the comedy TV show The Dean Martin Celebrity Roast with Frank Sinatra, the evening's victim. Falk continued to work in films, including his performance as a questionable ex-CIA agent of dubious sanity in the comedy The In-Laws. Director Arthur Hiller said during an interview that the film started out because Alan Arkin and Peter Falk wanted to work together. They went to Warner Brothers and said, "We'd like to do a picture," and Warner said "Funny." And out came The In-Laws. Of all the films I've done, The In-Laws is the one I get the most comments on. Movie critic Roger Ebert compared the film with the later remake. Peter Falk and Alan Arkin in the earlier film, versus Michael Douglas and Albert Brooks this Tamir. Yet the chemistry is better in the earlier film. Falk goes into his deadpan lecturer mode, slowly and patiently explaining things that sound like utter nonsense. Arkin develops good reasons for suspecting he is in the hands of a madman. Falk appeared in The Great Muppet Caper, The Princess Bride, Murder by Death, The Cheap Detective, Vibes, Maid, and in Wim Wenders' 1987 film Wings of Desire and its 1993 sequel, Far Away, So Close. In 1998, Falk returned to the New York stage to star in an off-Broadway production of Arthur Miller's Mr. Peters' Connections. His previous stage work included shady real estate salesman Shelley the Machine Levine in the 1986 Boston-Los Angeles production of David Mamet's prize-winning Glengarry Glen Ross. Falk starred in a trilogy of holiday television movies: A Town Without Christmas, Finding John Christmas, and When Angels Come to Town, in which he portrayed Max, a quirky guardian angel who uses disguises and subterfuge to steer his charges onto the right path. In 2005, he starred in The Thing About My Folks. Although movie critic Roger Ebert was not impressed with most of the other actors, he wrote in his review, "We discover once again what a warm and engaging actor Peter Falk is. I can't recommend the movie, but I can be grateful that I saw it, for Falk." In 2007, Falk appeared with Nicolas Cage in the thriller Next. Personal life: Falk married Elise Mayo, whom he met when the two were both students at Syracuse University, on April 17, 1960. The couple adopted two daughters, Catherine and Jackie. They divorced in 1976. On December 7, 1977, Falk married actress Shara Denise, who guest-starred on the Columbo series on numerous occasions. Falk was an accomplished artist, and in October 2006 he had an exhibition of his artwork at the Butler Institute of American Art. He took classes at the Art Students League of New York for many years. Examples of his sketches can be seen on his official website. Falk was a chess aficionado and a spectator at the American Open in Santa Monica, California, in November 1972, and at the U.S. Open in Pasadena, California, in August 1983. Falk appeared in the video for Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters in 1984. Of death, Falk once said, "It is just the gateway." Falk's memoir Just One More Thing was published by Carroll and Graf on August 23, 2006. Death. Rumors of Falk's dementia plagued the actor in the final years of his life and were exacerbated when in late April 2008 he was photographed by paparazzi looking disheveled and acting animated in the streets of Beverly Hills. Although the actor said his behavior resulted from his frustration over being unable to remember where he had parked his car, the images of his erratic appearance and behavior were published by the media. Falk was seldom seen in public after the incident. In June 2009, at a two-day conservatorship trial in Los Angeles, one of Falk's personal physicians, Dr. Stephen Reed, reported he had rapidly slipped into dementia after a series of dental operations in 2007. Dr. Reed said it was unclear whether Falk's condition had worsened as a result of anesthesia or some other reaction to the operations. Falk's decline was not immediate. He appeared fine signing autographs and intermingling with the general public in his last official public appearance at the 2008 Winter Hollywood Collectors Show in February 2008. Shara Denise Falk was appointed as her husband's conservator in 2009, after his decline. The 83-year-old Falk died at his longtime Roxbury Drive Beverly Hills home on the evening of June 23, 2011. The cause of death was later revealed as cardiorespiratory arrest, with pneumonia and Alzheimer's disease as underlying causes. Falk was survived by his wife and two daughters. His daughters said they would remember his wisdom and humor. Falk is buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. Falk's death was marked by tributes from many film celebrities. Steven Spielberg said, "I learned more about acting from him at that early stage of my career than I had from anyone else." Rob Reiner said, "He was a completely unique actor," and went on to say that Falk's work with Alan Arkin in The In-Laws was one of the most brilliant comedy pairings we've seen on screen. Filmography, film, television. References. External links, official website, Peter Falk at the Internet Movie Database, Peter Falk at the Internet Broadway Database, Peter Falk at the Internet Off-Broadway Database, Peter Falk at the TCM Movie Database, Peter Falk at AllMovie, works by or about Peter Falk in libraries, Peter Falk collected news and commentary at the New York Times, Just One More Thing About Falk, TV's Columbo. Fresh Air. June 27, 2011. NPR. http www.npr.org/61374466127/ Just One More Thing About Falk TVS Columbo. Peter Falk at Emmys.com, Peter Falk on Dean Martin Show on YouTube, video, 10 minutes. Peter Falk at Find a Grave.